If you've been watching my videos on my hives, you will know that I've got one hive that has really been struggling. And if you watched yesterday's video with myself and my friend Frank Bowden, you probably heard me say that this hive may be a lost cause. Well, I'm just not quite ready to give up on it yet. So I've been thinking about some observations I've been making in this hive over the past couple of weeks. Haven't been able to get out of my head some things I saw in the hive yesterday. So I'm gonna come back out here today. It's Saturday afternoon, about, I don't know, 11 or 12. And I'm really gonna give this thing one last try. So I'm gonna walk you through some things that I'll give a shot at using a little bit of common sense, as well as some things I've learned from some research and talking to some old timers and seeking their wise counsel. So this may or may not work, but here we go. Here's some observations I've made in this hive. One, from day one when I got them, I could tell from the nooks comparing the two that they were a lot quieter and a lot calmer and seemed to be less aggressive. So that was a concern from the beginning, that maybe this was a weak hive compared to my other one. The other thing I've noticed is just very little performance and activity between the hives. I showed you yesterday in the video that I've got one honey super that's been on this hive for about 6 weeks. Nothing has happened. I mean, 6 weeks ago, both brood boxes were full and ready to go, but they have done nothing. They're just not moving up. I've got a lot of hive beetles. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I've got a weak queen. I'm just not sure. But one thing I've noticed the last couple of weeks, there's a lot more activity of them starting to beard outside the front of the hive. So it looks kind of like this. So I'm not sure what's going on really. But we're going to take a look inside. I'm going to experiment with a couple of things, so let's see what happens. So I'm going to suit up and I'll come right back. I probably shouldn't open them this soon. That's kind of against the rules, so to speak, 2 days in a row, but I figure, hey, why not? They're not doing much of anything anyway. So this is just my attempt to salvage what I can salvage. I'm not out anything if it doesn't work. I am going to, along the way, if I see hive beetles that I can kill, I'm going to kill them, and let's just hope for the best. So I'm going to turn this angle down so you can see me less and see more of what we're working on. So here we go. Should be a good close perspective from this angle. You're not here to see my pretty face anyway. Moving the top. You can see some of these hive beetles along the top. You can also see right here where a bee has died, as it's got some of that oil. We have to be very careful with this. So let me just show you. I don't even need to smoke this. There are so few bees here. This is what I showed you yesterday, but in case you missed it, I'll show you again. This frame has very, very little built up on it, and it's been in the hive for 6 weeks. And what I want you to notice is the relatively low congestion of this box compared to when I take it off, how heavily congested the box is below it, which was a thing I noticed yesterday, which is causing me to realize that maybe they're just not being drawn up. I hope you can see right here. Let's see if I can help you see this. Right here, you may be able to see a lot of hive beetles down in that space. They're kind of trapped in that prison. It's pretty interesting. Not sure if you can see that or not. I'll adjust this a little bit more. And I'm going to take this first box off. This is the honey super that's installed, and below it will be the queen extruder and one box underneath. Very lightweight because there's not much in it. But look down there. Can you see the change of activity? Much more congested below this queen extruder. I see some hive beetle, but not a lot. And I want you just to see the difference in that frame that I just pulled off compared to this frame. What I've noticed is they have built up a lot of comb in between the tops of these frames and the queen extruder. So part of the problem may be not so much the hive beetles, but they just can't fit up in there. So there's a lot of propolis, which is kind of the glue that they use to seal it. So that's not a surprise and not to be expected. I mean, I should expect that. I'm going to pull out one of these frames so you can see the difference in what they've built up and see some of their activity. This all should still be on camera. I can't really see what I'm doing on the camera, so I trust that you can see where we're working. There are still hive beetles in this section, not as many of them. That's encouraging. But there's more bees here that are keeping them under control. So, watch this. This is going to be so, can you see? Can't really tell. I think you can see that. So up here, this is a lot of capped honey, but it's also a lot of brood. You can see the honey is going in and out. This is a little bee, as you can see my finger, who's got his head down in that hole. He's working in that to apply nectar. Down here on the bottom though, trying to see if you can see, down here though, this is brood where they've built out. These are actually some pretty deep cells. One's about to hatch. So it may be that they're not happy with the queen and they're trying to make another. I can see in some of these spaces, just if I can get a little bit closer, maybe you can see. I can see in some of these spaces, I'm going to bring it up to you. It's maybe pretty interesting for you to be able to tell and see. I can see in some of these areas where there are small eggs, you can almost see a little white space down inside that where there are eggs in place. So this is a lot of brood. It is also some nectar and honey in place. Coming on this side, you see a lot more. We're just looking down in these holes to see. This looks like it is mostly honey on this side they're trying to work. I need to be very careful now that I'm below this queen extruder. It is possible that I could see or even damage the queen. So you can see that they've been busy at work and a lot of activity in this space, but they're just not moving up. I'm going to check one more frame. You can also see the logic of why I use 9 instead of 10 and how wide outside of the actual frames they're building out further. That means potentially more honey. So that's a good sign and a good thing for us. Let's check this hive beetle trap. I'm going to scrape off a lot of this propolis. Excuse me, girls. Hopefully you can see this well. This is a different angle from which I have shot before. They just have totally glued this on. So I want to be careful not to break it. I don't want at all, if I even feel like I'm going to run the risk of breaking this plastic and leaking out some of this oil, I'm going to stop, because that would kill my bees. I don't want to do that. Here we can see there are a lot of hive beetles in there, so I'm going to discard this. Check this out though, this is on the end. Interesting observation. How dramatically different over here. They're building it out, but it is not yet even full. So that tells me that it is not solely a crowd congestion problem, but there could also be some hive beetle issues in here as well. Try not to crush any bees if I can avoid it at all. Give them the opportunity to get out. Okay, so now here's what I say and here's what I'm going to do. First of all, while I'm in here, I might make them mad, but I'm going to take this little popsicle stick and I'm going to take a sneak peek of some honey. If I can find a section of just capped honey that's not brood. Obviously I don't want to eat a bee egg, that would be gross. But this may make them so mad they attack me and I run off screaming like a girl. Or this could be my chance to get a sample of some honey off of a hive before it's totally ruined. This one is very full. They may feel like I'm robbing them of their honey, so this could be dangerous. But can you see that? Absolutely delicious. I'm gonna step away and have a taste. Holy cow, that may be the most delicious honey I've ever put in my mouth. So, we're gonna start rebuilding this. I am not going to put the queen extruder back on. There's a risk I'm taking. If this theory works, they're gonna move back up because of this congestion. The risk I take is the queen also moves up and lays eggs in this super that I would want to contain. So this is a risk, but then again, it's such a, make sure the queen is not on this extruder. I don't see her. I'll be looking for a bee that is 2 to 3 times in size. She's not on this for sure. I'm just gonna leave that bee. Leave that bee, that was funny. I'm gonna put this frame back on top. Watch out, girls. Get out of the way, please. Don't want to squish them. Because of all that propolis that was in between the queen extruders not wanting to sit straight, but I'm able to get that in place. Let me adjust this camera so you can see. Now what I'm gonna do is simply take, I've got a spray bottle of sugar water. I'm gonna spray down in between these spaces. That should make them say, hey, let's come and eat on that. I really wanna draw them up into this space. I'm even gonna pull a couple out. Spray some onto the frames itself. Because in theory, again, this is all theory we're talking today. If I'm able to draw them up to this space, this sugar water should be an attractor for them to move up from where there's clearly good population of bees underneath. They should be more prone then to come up, which should motivate them to build out on these frames. At the same time, that should also increase the population of bees up in this space that can help better naturally defend against the hive beetles. So that's what we're going for. I'm gonna, I probably should come back sooner than I'm going to check to see if they're moving up. But I'm gonna wait a while because I've already disturbed them 2 days in a row. I'm gonna just let them be, and I'm not gonna check them again for another couple of weeks. My hope is that in that time frame, they will have moved up and be actually building out more on this top super. I think you can follow my logic. Realistically, since I've removed that queen extruder, I probably should come back in just 2 or 3 days and put the queen extruder back on. But at this point, I'm not so much focused on, move up here so you can. At this point, I'm not so much focused on getting honey out of this hive as much as I am building its strength as a hive so that it can survive. So if the queen moves up into that shallow super, it's not the greatest of scenarios, but actually it's a good sign that she's actually being productive. But as unproductive as she has been, I really don't see that happening. So I'm gonna wait a couple of weeks, come back, give them time to settle back into a routine and a rhythm and check, but hopefully that'll cause them to draw out. So this is kind of my last ditch effort. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching.